Sales Club members. I am now joined by Yoav Tourel. He's the Managing Director for Guesty in APAC. As you may know, Guesty is a great company, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of data and marketing. Guesty has been able to create so much educational content. You've probably seen them online somewhere. But what maybe we could be covering with Yoav is the APAC side. What has Guesty seen in this crisis, and what his advice is on how companies can adapt, where to go next. So it's pretty exciting again, because I don't think we have much content usually about APAC, and Guesty and Yoav have been kind enough to create something for us. So thank you so much, Yoav, and welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm okay. I'm broadcasting from Sydney, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you very much for inviting us.
Well, it's great to have you. As I said, so you are right now in Sydney, and you are part, of course, of the APAC office. You manage the APAC office for Guesty, right?
Correct. So so we have a team here in Sydney. We opened the office back in last September, and we cover the entire APAC region for Guesty.
Pretty cool. And if I'm not mistaken, you have prepared a very nice presentation for us, introducing what Guesty is, talking about the trends and all kind of things. So without further ado, I'll let you ride with it. Take us there.
Oh, thank you. So hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you all. Today, I'll be discussing the topic on everyone's mind, COVID-19 and its impact on the short-term rental ecosystem. One of the main themes that we had here that we still have here in Guesty throughout this time is that we try to work with our clients and advise them to control what they can control, and what they can't control, they can't control. Basically, as simple as that. So with this view specifically, I'll be looking at how property management companies can mitigate revenue loss and prepare for the future of travel by adapting their business models and expanding their tech portfolio to target new travel personas, which is something that I'll touch on. Quickly about myself, my name is Yoav Tourel. I'm the Managing Director of APAC for Guesty, also known as Yowie. Nobody can say Yoav. When I didn't have beard, people told me that I look like Andre Agassi and sounds like Borat. So here you go. You've got the full presentation of myself. As I said, I'm from Guesty. We're one of the largest short-term rentals property management platform. What we do is that we try to automate and streamline pretty much all aspects of hosting across Airbnb, Booking, Vrbo, and other major booking platforms. Today, what I'll cover in the next, I assume, 22 minutes, we will look at the impact that COVID-19 has had on the short-term rentals ecosystem, from causing industry-wide revenue loss to creating what we call the new travelers of today. I'll also touch trends that shed some light on what travel will look like when it returns, so property management companies in the audience can prepare for the changes we expect to see. And lastly, we'll look at what property managers can do to adapt to the situation right now, as we speak, right now, from implementing tech to limit human interaction, to pivoting to 14+ day rentals. And I aim to leave you with some actionable takeaways. Cool, so let's dive right into the question we're all wondering about. How badly has COVID-19 impacted the short-term rental industry? Well, look, as you can see, it's been significant. COVID-19 has put the entire world on pause. Flight canceled, wedding postponed, major industry events delayed. We are just starting to see the ripple effect on a global scale. We see occupancy and future reservation are down worldwide. Airbnb, it's seen sorry for that. Airbnb, it's seen an unprecedented amount of cancellation. Sorry for that. Sorry, some technical issues. Shall I stop and start from the beginning? Just kind of the screen shut down on me.
If you want, we can go back to the top of the slide. So just go back to the top of the slide, and so we have a natural flow.
Okay, and then you can edit it?
Yeah.
Cool, sorry. So let's dive right into the question we're all wondering about. How badly has COVID-19 impacted the short-term rental industry? Well, as you can see, it's been significant. COVID-19 has put the entire world on pause, with flight canceled, wedding postponed, major industry events delayed. We are definitely starting to see the ripple effect on a global scale. In terms of occupancy and future reservation, down worldwide. Airbnb seen an unprecedented amount of cancellation. 2020 was supposed to be the company's year, yet Airbnb, which was recently valued between 50 to 70 billion, is now worth less than 30 billion. And although there is no way to tell what the future will hold, we know that travel will return. It just may look differently than before. I don't think that we'll get into a situation that once it ends, I don't think that you'll hear people saying, all right, now I need some time at home to relax. That we won't hear that. People will want to go out. We are seeing that even with the lockdowns and restriction currently in place, people are still traveling. We keep asking our clients, who are your guests? And we see that they are mostly either displaced travelers who cannot get home, quarantiners who need to isolate for 14 plus days, healthcare workers who need safe place to stay away from their families near hospitals, family who needs outdoor space or more space for kids, business workers who need a nice work from home environment. We heard it from a few of our clients in Japan that they're getting booking from executives that just can't have the kids behind them in Zoom when they're doing all the meetings. So they need kind of a good environment. Now, the rise of these new travel personas has resulted in different patterns and guest expectation than travelers before the coronavirus. So one of the biggest changes is, for example, is the length of stay. Pre-coronavirus, we've seen average length that was around 4.5 nights. Now it's pretty much more than doubled. The average length of stay being booked worldwide increasing to 9 days and above. So what explained the change? Lots of hosts pivoted to extend stays to meet the needs of self-quarantiners and isolate guests. And in addition, travelers are booking future lengthier reservation to use saved up vacation days. But we'll touch it more in just a bit. We can see reservation numbers recovering. People are dreaming of travel, taking advantage of the reduced daily rates, and are working from home. So that gives the flexibility to take a domestic staycation to a short-term rentals. We've seen it in different parts of the world. US is leading in terms of the volume of reservations, with the numbers of new reservation now in May increasing by 87% compared to April, so quite a strong increase. Australia is now getting better and better. On the 1st of June, you can travel freely in New South Wales. Other restrictions are being lifted, and we start to see the winds of change. It's coming second in our data in terms of volume of bookings, with the numbers of new reservations created in May increasing by more than 41% compared to April. Other countries that are seeing signs of recovery, FYI, including the UK, Canada, and France. Italy, just as a super interesting note, one of the hardest hit countries by COVID-19 is currently 6th in our data, with a 130% increase in new reservation in May compared to April, mainly from Milan and Lake Como. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen improvement, which is promising. Obviously, still far from what we had pre-corona, but what it tells all of us, if Italy, which was at the lowest point of any country, can come back, we can all come back. If you look at other parts of APAC, China specifically, we are seeing the travel is slowly starting to return to normal. All international flights are set to resume on June 1st, including airlines like Delta and United. Major hotel chains like the Hilton are reopening their doors. We had at the beginning of May the Labor Weekend, the 5 days. China registered more than 110 million domestic tourists. And I'll touch later on in other kind of search data that we have from the different countries. I'll also mention New Zealand. So New Zealand now last week, moving to stage 2. That's basically seeing them now traveling between the different areas. And we see also increase on booking, for example, in Queenstown, which is the ski season, the snow season is about to start. Now, although there is no way to predict what the future holds, right now there are still plenty of reasons to maintain optimistic, we think, for the future of travel, especially in time for holidays later this year. So looking into our data, according to our data, we're seeing an improvement in reservation as early as pretty much in the next month or so, as fall. The current number of reservation in our system for spring and the fall in the US is similar to the volume of reservation that we saw last year. September is still a bit lower, but as you can see on the slide here, booking for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve globally in our system now are higher than what we saw at this time last year. So people are booking more for this period of time. Since many travelers had to put early vacation this year on hold, I mentioned before, looking to use saved up vacation days on trips later in the year. Travelers may also book a holidays vacation earlier than usual as they take advantage of the discounted rates. And I'll touch it also as part of our recommendation. So they're looking into discount rates on future stays or relaxed cancellation policies that hosts are offering to incentivize bookings. So, people are dreaming on travel. They have better rates. More and more hosts are presenting flexible policies. So it kind of creates the right environment to make more bookings. Now, I'm sure that many of you already seen it in the news. The APAC region will be one of the first areas of the world to slowly resume travel. And yesterday we had only 3 cases across Australia. New Zealand is in a very good shape. China is, as we've seen, starting kind of to open up. Now we kind of we see that the Australian government earlier this month announced that on drastic cutbacks on the lockdown restriction, including those around tourism. And another kind of step that is discussed often here in the news is to create the Trans-Tasman bubble, which will eventually allow for travel between Australia and New Zealand. So not only that kind of both countries continue to report on low numbers for COVID-19, but also each of these countries play a huge factor in tourism for the other country. So there is kind of a strong relationship, a strong travel relationship between the two countries. And being here in Australia, we hope to see it starting in July. There is no set date, and we really don't know. But these are kind of the discussions. We are seeing the same patterns across other SEA countries, in which we may see Vietnam hoping to form travel pacts with surrounding countries like China and South Korea. And since we see that travelers are very wary about flying internationally, the Trans-Tasman bubble will drive domestic travel between New Zealand and Australia even more. So that means that Australia could stand to benefit from a closure of international borders should the spending of Australian international travel be redirected to domestic travel. So we can kind of earn from it. We anticipate that when this is all over and more people begin to make up for the lost time, they will be choosing rentals over hotels to avoid the hotels with busy common areas like the lobbies, dining rooms, etc.
Yes.
So the assumption is that domestic will peak, and within the domestic, the short-term rentals. Now, although almost everyone is confined to their houses right now, we're seeing that many are already daydreaming about the first vacation they will take post the coronavirus. In fact, people are thinking about and actively researching travel now more than ever before, showing that there is some reason to be cautiously optimistic about the future of travel. If you're familiar with Google Trends, it ranks various of search topics from 1 to 100 by the interest over time, 100 representing peak popularity. If we look on data from across Australia, it shows that while last year at this time, the search term, when can I travel, at the ranking of approximately 15, it is projected to reach a peak popularity this week, scoring 100. So when can I travel is a very, very common search query these days. In Google, we see very similar data from countries like Korea and Taiwan and Hong Kong and China. There, it's not when can I travel, it's actually searching to book in the different kind of booking engine. So if the search behavior can tell us something, it's definitely that there is some optimism out there. Now we've seen that many of Guesty's clients, property management companies all over the world, are implementing new technology and experimenting with strategies in order to mitigate revenue loss caused by COVID-19. We are seeing more and more hosts that are shifting their marketing strategies away from focusing on being a vacation destination and toward being accommodation that meet the needs of the new type of traveler that have emerged. By that, it means that they promoting that properties as self-quarantine or safe havens away from the city that allow working remotely. In addition, hosts are adding more stringent cleaning processes, as well as perks such as self-checking, automated checkout to limit that human contact. They're also utilizing dynamic pricing tools and offering that flexible cancellation policies. And they are keeping their rental stocks with amenities and entertainment to keep the guests busy. We'll also mention it in some of our recommendation. And whether it's the pantry and the kitchen fully packed for extended period of time, provided game consoles, puzzles, Monopoly, Netflix, coffee, dry food, etc. Now, how can you quickly pivot to meet the new demand in the market? Let's go through that. So first, let's start with the marketing. So we're speaking about new travel personas today. What will most of your guests in the COVID-19 era have in common? So there are other domestic tourists, or are those looking for a stay in your city due to circumstances beyond their control? Since the data tell us that most travel will be domestics once restrictions are lifted, marketing strategy should focus on grabbing the attention of these local travelers. So that's first of all. Most of these travelers are likely planning this vacation at the last minute, and they're probably expecting to spend less on accommodation. So, doing last minute booking and spending less, that should PMCs, property management companies, should consider optimizing their pricing strategy using yield management tool. For example, in your PMS, and Guesty is included in that, you can actually set rules that individual who book 5 days before reservation is meant to start can get 20% off on their booking, and you can set it up to 30% off if a property is booked 2 days in advance, for example. If you have changed your cancellation policy to allow more flexibility, make sure that you highlight that, promote it. If potential guests see that you won't penalize them for canceling last minute, which I think most guests will expect, they may be more likely to book with you over competitors. Make sure that you adjust your listing description to reflect any efforts you're making to keep the guests healthy and safe, and your property sanitized. For example, using CTC-approved cleaning suppliers or practices. There are lots of, on a side note on that, there are lots of discussion in different countries now on new standards for cleaning. We've seen examples from the hotels, and we've seen more and more kind of examples of short-term rentals, whether it's associations. Here in Australia, we know that Astra, the local association, is looking into that, into those new standardization. And limit human contact, so keyless entry solution, so no person key exchange is necessary. For families and those who need to work for many hours out of the day, any outdoor spaces are a big sell. So I like that. So it's, some of the feature used to be highlighted before, but now definitely kind of with the new type of traveler, it gives kind of, it gives the opportunity to highlight more or other features in your properties. Now, your marketing strategy should focus on grabbing the attention of local travelers, as I mentioned. And we think that property managers must highlight their unique selling points that are relevant to travelers who can easily drive to their property. So, if it's to market your rentals as family and pet friendly, so guests can comfortably travel domestically with all of their loved ones, since they may be less interested in your city main and busiest tourist attraction. So highlight off the beaten path options, like hidden parks, neighborhood favorites, restaurant, etc. That now is the time to give the local tips. Market your property in local newspapers or social groups. It's kind of it's almost like back to the basic in terms of how it's being marketed. There are lots of apps out there that allow you to list it on different local directories. One of our clients, that's a property management company called Masonettes from Sydney, they started a Facebook group, Australian Self-Isolation Accommodation. So property managers can use this group to stay up to date with potential trends or demands in the local market, such as stranded travelers or those who are looking for self-quarantine rentals. So we see kind of all kind of creative solution across our clients. Become an expert in staycation. So staycation, assume most of us are familiar with, stay and vacation, the combination of the words. That was a growing trend in the US even before the coronavirus, with more than half of all Americans having taken one. Staycationers are less likely to go sightseeing or hustle around the busy city, but they're looking to de-stress, relax, and unwind. Prep your rentals accordingly and market it as an oasis for those needing to get away without really going too far. So, it's pretty much, you have everything, especially with properties that have swimming pool, big backyard, maybe a short distance to the beach, etc. And make sure that they are equipped with luxury amenities like selection of teas, bubble bath, speaker system, wine, beer, etc. Now, I also mentioned that travel have long preferred self-service options over face-to-face ones, and this trend is more important now than ever. We expect that even after coronavirus, guests will prefer rentals that limit interactions with hosts. So to prepare for that, short-term rentals property management companies can rely on a variety of tech tools that help minimize the need for human interaction while still providing a top-notch guest experience. Now, these are few examples for the audience. They're all part of our Guesty vetted marketplace of partners. There are many other solutions out there. Hosts can use tools to implement self-checking and checkout processes, so guests can come and go without a face-to-face meeting. Implement keyless entry services like KeyNest to avoid physical key drop-offs. They can utilize the technology provided by companies like Jackapp to manage cleaning stuff remotely while still reviewing the cleaning through verification photos and real-time reports. So you can make sure that kind of the standards are being met. Automated messages. We offer automated messages, for example. They can be used as an extension of your content-free guest experience. With these automated messages, you can create cancellation flows to target cancel guests, for example, with coupons on future stays. You can provide clear communication on all checking instructions, procedure during confirmation, answer all inquiries, etc. Now, since we've seen dramatic increase in trips for the spring and summer, you need to start thinking about how to price the end of the year reservation to secure those bookings. Now, it can be tempting to guard the price, especially for holidays travel, which usually attracts higher rates. Lowering your rates for the future can actually help you to capture earlier reservation, even with supply high and demand low. We recommend to work with dynamic pricing tools. There are tools there like Price Labs and Wheelhouse. Both of them are also Guesty partners. Both use algorithms that will price conservatively based on the neighborhood occupancy rate, applying discounts for booking over weeks or months out to generate revenue even while demand is low. So there are solutions that think about making really kind of affordable rates for the future. I spoke a few times around optimizing more for domestic travel. We encourage property manager to explore even more additional channel manager. So rather than solely listing your booking on a global OTA, look for those dedicated to driving regional specific bookings, so sites that specified in offering local based rentals. They can be also doing your SEO work for you, so think about it also from that perspective. You can also try to secure booking directly, so you can use your own rental website to accept direct booking. It lets you control everything from marketing to booking payment. It also means that you control the cancellation policy, how you manage guests, and more importantly, you don't need to worry about paying commission to third parties. So another recommendation here. Another one, put focus on targeting repeat customers. Lots of our clients, they have returning guests. They are in their database. So incentivize to come back with discount codes or codes. Now it's the time to experiment in these. You can make part of your automated checkout flow. You can use this for. You can also use automated message to send targeted emails to guests who have canceled, incentivize them to book for the future with discounted rates. We heard many cases from clients that actually secured future booking like that. And yeah, you might have a much higher chance to getting them to rebook one of your properties when the time is right and the virus is no longer a concern. Now, lastly, make sure that the guests enjoy their time with you. That's always true. In order to make your guests' time as comfortable as possible, they will need the fully stocked rental with all of the amenities required from an extended stay. If we're speaking about the length of stay, that doubled. So think about everything from toilet paper to laundry detergents to toothpaste, coffee, more. Since they will be spending at least 40 days alone in most cases, leave them with a selection of books, games, access to Apple TV, Netflix, even a yoga mat or a set of dumbbells to help them to pass the time. We've seen many of our kind of clients really kind of gearing up their properties. You can make the opportunity to work with local businesses near the properties and incorporate their services to upsell, such as food takeaways from local restaurants, grocery delivery, at home. We've seen one case in Brisbane, at home ceramic kits created by local craft store, live streaming personal training session, virtual concert, or museum tours and more. Now, how can property manager companies navigate coronavirus, prepare them to the return of travel, and provide a top-notch guest experience, revamp cleaning policies, manage bookings, and more all at the same time? We're here to help with that. A bit kind of really quickly about kind of Guesty. For those of you who might be less familiar with Guesty and what we do, our mission is to help streamline the complex operational needs property managers are tasked with accomplishing daily. Whether it's staff management, task automation, or 24/7 guest communication, we provide solution to key points, helping property manager to save time and focus of growth. We try to make their life easier so they can grow their business. We have an holistic approach, so being a one-stop shop for OTAs and booking platforms. And in addition, as I mentioned earlier, we also enable integration with many brilliant third-party tech solutions that we all share the same goal of making property management easier. We call it our marketplace, and it's really made up of Guesty approved and vetted third-party tech solution across several verticals, and it acts as an aggregator in this market. In the coming year, we are going to build out our marketplace with some additional verticals such as sales and marketing. Now, as you've seen here today, the impact on the short-term rentals of COVID-19 has been far-reaching. We created an info center to act as a resource point for property management companies. It's open to everyone. It's whether they are clients or not clients. I mentioned in the beginning of our call when I went live on air that I feel that a lot of us in the industry really showed a lot of empathy during this time, still showing. We're learning a lot from others, we're sharing a lot with others, and this is one of the ways that we're trying to do that. In the resource center, you will find tips, actionable advice, tech solution, and many more content and articles to help you stay on the top of this global health crisis. Really in order to come out of it stronger. So I invite everyone to visit our page to check out all of the content there. We, just kind of to mention a few examples of content, and that actually things that we're collecting also from our clients, and that's kind of how we share. So from clients that provide shelter to COVID-19 frontline workers to how do you empathizing with guests, we try to collect lots of tips and share them. We also launched a new project that connect property management companies with guests that are looking for self-quarantine or isolated rentals. It's a directory that hosted live on our website and basically doing that matchmaking. We have I think today 33 clients, PMCs that are listed, 10 of them from the Australia and APAC region. And last but not least, since all global events and conferences have been put on hold, so just like the rental scale up, which is kind of such an amazing and kind of event, we also try and do our own virtual events. We did 8 virtual events in the last 6 weeks across globally. 2 of them were here in APAC, We're having another Chinese one later on this week. And on June 10th, we are doing a global webinar about the day after COVID-19, preparing for the return of travel. So if anyone wants to join, please be our guest. So before I go today, I wanted to remind you one last time that we believe that the future looks bright. Travel will return, with domestic travel picking up faster than international. Guests will likely opt for private rentals over hotels to ensure more isolated settings. We see early signs of recovery for US fall and winter, as well as here in Australia, New Zealand, and some of the Southeast Asia countries, with number of current reservations stronger than last year. And we arrived to the thank you page. So I really hope that I was insightful and interesting.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much, Yoav, for your time and presentation. And it was nice to see that the last slide again was ending on a positive note, which is something we knew would be coming, but it's good to see it is happening. These bookings are returning. There's as you mentioned as well in your slide, there's this pent-up need or demand for travel, and it's been very, very interesting on this.
It is, and looking even on the other speakers and presentation in this event, I think that kind of there are really great companies out there, really smart companies out there. And I think that one of the positive things about the coronavirus, if I can put it this way, is I think that the industry is coming out better and stronger from that. I think that it became more mature and responsible and with higher standards, and we're really looking forward kind of to the future.
Yoav, thank you again so much for your time. My usual question in the end is how to get a hold of you, but kindly you've already put your email address out there. Thanks so much. We'll be able to email you. What I will do also below the video, put of course a link to Guesty. And as you said, Guesty is really amazing in terms of content creation, advice. So really, really encourage our watchers here to check out the content and then watch the webinars. It's very, very rich. So it's been really a pleasure. Yoav Tourel from.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're the Managing Director of APAC for Guesty. And I wish you a great week then.